So yesterday we learned how to simplify radicals. Today we're going to take a look at another way of expressing a radical, and that's with a rational exponent. Rational number is, remember, a ratio of two integers, so that's what a rational exponent is. So one thing I want to do is help you make the connection between a radical form and the rational form. The square root of x can be rewritten as x to the 1/2 power. So the denominator of the rational exponent is the same as the root of the radical form. So let's say we had the cube root of x. That could be rewritten as x to the 1/3 power, because the denominator of the rational exponent is the root in radical form. So the difference between our 1/2 and 1/3 in this example here with the 2/3 is that would be the cube root of x squared, because the numerator for the rational exponent is the power on the variable. So let's take a look at simplifying or converting between radical and rational exponents. And we will simplify as well. So if you start with rational exponents, there's only one step. If you're starting with a rational exponent, the denominator is the root and the numerator is the power. So just like we saw on the last slide. So I'm going to convert this by making it the 5th root of 32, and then the exponent, the power, is 3. So the 5th root of 32 cubed. But if we're going to simplify this, order of operations would say we'd have to cube the 32 before we take the 5th root. Well, you're going to have to do this without a calculator. So an alternate form is to take the 5th root of 32 and then cube it. You can do the root and the power in any order, but when you're simplifying, you're going to want to take the root first to make the number smaller. So the 5th root of 32 is 2. 2 cubed is 8. You would get the exact same answer if you took 32 cubed and then the 5th root. You would just need a calculator for that. Alright, so converting between radical notation and rational exponents, same thing, but this time you're using the root as the denominator. So we're going to take our 5, the denominator will be 6 because that's the root in radical form, and the power will be our numerator. And when we've got 3 6, we always give our fractions in simplest form, so I would simplify this to 5 to the 1/2 power. This one doesn't simplify because there aren't any perfect square factors of 5. Alright, so we're going to take a little bit more close look at simplifying. Same process. If you prefer radical form, go ahead and convert it. I think for most of you, thinking in terms of radicals instead of rational exponents, at least until you're used to the rational exponents, will be easier. So, using the denominator as my root, I have the square root of 144 to the -1st power. You want to make it smaller first, so we take the square root of 144, which is 12. And if you remember how to use negative exponents, it just means it goes to the denominator. So 12 to the -1st power is 1/12. Taking a look at part B, for this one, because there is no addition or subtraction inside the parentheses, I can distribute my exponent. If it's all multiplication and division, go ahead and distribute. If there's any adding or subtracting, you got to use order of operations first. So this becomes 8 to the 2/3 times 64 to the 2/3. So I'm going to leave this one in rational form so that you can start to get used to how we work with these rational exponents. I'm going to, step 2, use the denominator as the root to make the number smaller. So looking at my first term here, I've got 8 with a root of 3, or a denominator of 3. So the 3rd root, or the cube root of 8, is 2. And then we haven't used our numerator yet, so I still got 2 squared. Same thing with our 64. The 3rd root, or the cube root of 64, is 4. And we have to use that power as a square. 2 squared is 4. 4 squared is 16. and 4 times 16 is 64. One last example on this video, we've got 2 to the 1/2 times 2 to the 1/4. Because these numbers have the same base, I can add the exponents. So 1/2 plus 1/4 is 3/4. There's no perfect fourth root of 2, and there's no perfect fourth factor of 2 either. So I'm just going to raise 2 to the 3rd power and simplify the exponent a little bit that way.